Hey everybody, it is Jetty Lupe here, and I wanted to do a narration for the tutorial for my Harmony wings. This is a really quick and easy way to make fairy wings or angel wings, anything like that. It can really add a lot to your cosplay, or if you've ever wanted to do a wing to cosplay and you've been really scared about it, it's actually really easy to do, and this should only take you about 2 to 3 hours to complete. It's pretty inexpensive and definitely like a beginner's kind of thing. There are more complicated and more like craftsmanship level ways of making wings, which I'll try to do in the future. But again, this is a very like beginners, like anybody can do it, and you can definitely cosplay that winged character that you've always wanted to cosplay. So let's talk about the things that you need. So the most important thing that you're going to need is wire, and the type of wire that I'm using is a very thick and heavy wire. It's actually electrical wire. I got it at my local hardware store. It's really hard to bend and cut, so you'll see I have a toolbox there with some good pliers, some good wire cutters. I also have some lightweight gloves just to help because my hands are very dainty. I also have duct tape. You're also going to need hot glue gun. You're going to need bias tape or ribbon and you'll also need whatever material that you want to use. And so I will talk about the material in just a moment here. But again, it's up to you what you want to use, but this is just what I use. So the first thing that you're going to do is make your wire skeleton. So what I like to do is actually get out a picture of the wings and either print it out or keep it up on my phone or on my iPad because it has a bigger screen. Another thing is to really get to see the shape of the wings or how they bend. So since different characters' wings are kind of shaped differently and sit differently, I'll even watch a few episodes of the show or whatever just to get a really good look at the wings. You want to know what you're trying to make. So Harmony is kind of a weird one because she's a hamster and she kind of has like little wings. So I was kind of to my discretion, so I did make them a lot bigger than hers are, but when I made my Bloom ones, they were pretty on point for size and color and shape. So this is like the hardest part. You may need a friend to help you bend them into shape. You'll have a middle part on the ends that kind of stick out from the edges of your sides that you'll tape together, and that makes what's called the spine, which I'll refer to the spine, and you would duct tape that together. So the next thing that you want to do is to lay out your fabric. And so now I use a mix of organza and tulle for these particular wings. My Bloom wings were all tulle. It depends on how opaque you want your wings to be. So organza tends to be a little bit more opaque, but you can still see through it. If you want to do something more opaque, you can use something like nylon. With tulle, I find that it is pretty sheer, so I do use a few layers. And the tulle layer that I used on my wings is actually it's like the spider netting. In close-up pictures, you'll be able to see I just laid it on top. So you just want to kind of cut out a piece around the same size as your wings. You don't have to cut off a bunch of excess. And however big your wings are will determine how much fabric you need, but usually not too much. Luckily, that kind of fabric is pretty cheap. So now what you'll do is pretty much go around the whole wire and put a ton of hot glue on it and just go like maybe 6 inches at a time and make sure that you really pinch your fabric to the wire, and that's why I'm wearing silicone thimbles in this picture. Again, I just don't want to get burned. It's very hot and obviously we want to be safe, so that's why. But you pretty much just go around and you pinch the fabric right to the wire that has the glue on it, and it works out pretty well. The more glue that you use, the better hold it's going to have, but also know that more glue is going to show more likely. So now you're going to want to get out your bias tape. So I use metallic bias tape here, which you can find in like the sewing section kind of by the thread. You can also use ribbon here, but what I like about bias tape is that it's already like folded over on the sides. If you've ever used bias tape, you know what I mean. It's also called binding. It's pretty cheap, but you'll need for these size wings, I needed to buy I needed to buy 2 packs. I think that there's 3 yards in each, or something like that. So I need like about 6 yards of this. So you pretty much lay it out and go around and make a whole border and just glue it down, and it covers up the like nasty glue that is on your wire, and it makes it look really pretty. And I just went for the gold because I felt like it matched with the wand and everything that I was making and the halos. That's why I chose this. Now I will say the metallic bias tape does not sit as nicely as the like regular cotton one. Like the ones that I used for Bloom was the regular ones. So I will say this metallic one I didn't like as much, but it looked really pretty from far away. And again, you just go around and you are just gluing the edges. And it's like super simple and easy to do. And again, just watch that you don't get burnt. Getting those little edges there, those little corners were really hard for me. So they didn't come out as nicely as I would have liked. But if I were to do this the full craftsmanship way, I would be hand sewing all of this anyway. So again, this is just a nice, easy way to make this. So then what you'll have in the end is your spine in the middle, which is going to either go up against your back in your costume if you have either a tank top, or if you cut a hole in your costume, you can kind of just stick it into your bra. And if you don't have if you're not wearing a bra, or if you don't have a bra or whatever, you can also put Velcro on the spine and put Velcro on the inside of your shirt. And that way it will Velcro, because you really need some more anchors. And the reason that I left the white on the bottom in this picture was because I didn't know how I was going to wear the wings yet. So I left it long, and I ended up cutting that white part off. And the other reason that I covered it with the bias tape was to help it match. And also because if it was going to go up against my skin, I wanted to make sure that it was pretty comfortable. So for these wings in particular, I did add ribbons for straps. I really don't like visible straps. If I can avoid it, I will. But because I knew I wasn't going to want to cut a hole in the shirt I was wearing, I figured I better just do the straps. So you can also use elastic, which I think works better here. But I went for the ribbon because I kind of wanted it to match the sweater that I was wearing. And actually, you can barely see it in the pictures. You have to really look for it. But you'll have to do a lot of adjusting. And when you go to put them on, the wings are going to be kind of heavy. That wire is pretty heavy. So I'll talk about later. I did use some extra Velcro on the edges for extra support. So here I'm just showing you the back of the wings where you can see that netting fabric that I have, that gold netting fabric on top of the organza. I don't know, I thought it would look nice, and you can kind of do whatever you want. I also added the stars on the back because I realized at this point that I was going to be wearing these wings on the outside of my shirt rather than stuck in my bra in the shirt. So I figured I would like it to look prettier, so that's why I added the stars to it. Again, you can kind of do what you want. I've seen people like that do, fairies put all kinds of flowers and stuff like that on there, and if it is going to be sitting against your skin, I definitely recommend that you cover that spine with fabric, as otherwise it will be digging into you all day. So this is a picture of the wings on. At this point, I only have the ribbon holding it on, and so what I actually did when I ended up wearing these at MagFest was I added more Velcro to the back of my shirt and to the spine. I also added Velcro to the tops of the wings towards the spine, if that makes sense. So I had 3 points of contact beyond just the ribbon, and it actually worked out really well. The wings did not move all day, and I had people running into them because I went to the vendors that day, and it worked out really well. And again, these aren't my favorite wings, but they were really quick and really easy to make. Again, it only took me like 2 to 3 hours, pretty cheap. Definitely a great way to start with your wings. And this is just from the front, where you can see I'm actually holding the wings up here because I'm trying to figure out how much I want to cut off. But anyways, you can see it kind of all came together, and I hope that this is helpful for you guys.